In today's episode, Katy and I talk about A Girl's Guide to World War, which is a musical play that Katy has written with your partner.
Yes.
Who can't be here with us today.
No, she can't, but she's busy learning lines because she's in the show. So,
and that's what we want. We've just had the most astonishing story, and to be honest with you, I'm completely gobsmacked by it, and I just want to keep talking because these women that Katy is talking about in the play, quite honestly, it brings me to tears. They are so real and undervalued.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, the story needs to be told. Yeah.
So, Katy, tell us, where can people come and see this?
So you can come and see it at the old ambulance station in Nambour.
In the Black Box Theatre.
In the Black Box Theatre. So we just thought that was the best place for this story because, you know, there's ambulance drivers and hospitals and all that kind of thing in the story. So the old ambulance station at Nambour, and it starts on the 22nd of November it starts at the end of this month and it runs to the 1st of December.
And how will people get tickets?
You can get tickets through Eventbrite. Or if you just go to our Facebook page, which is, if you just search for A Girl's Guide to World War, you can actually book tickets directly through Facebook. So yeah, Eventbrite or Facebook,
So the Black Box Theatre. Watch right through to the end. It's a bit longer because we just couldn't stop talking, but it's fabulous, and I think that you'll love it. Hello and welcome to Stories from the Red Couch, episode 63. I'm Robin Cook and today my guest is Katy Forde. Hi Katy.
Hi Robin.
How are you?
I'm very well.
Oh, so welcome.
Thank you.
It's just so wonderful to have you here. I'm just going to do that again because I can do that. So welcome. You are so welcome.
You're so welcome.
See, I don't normally do that. And the other day, John said, "Oh no, you can stop if you want to." So I won't always do that though. Okay. Hello and welcome to Stories from the Red Couch, episode 63. I'm Robin Cook and today my guest is Katy Forde. Hello Katy.
Hello Robin.
How are you?
Very well, how are you?
I'm also very well.
That is good.
Thank you for joining me on the couch today.
I'm very happy to be here.
I'm really excited to talk about your project. Are you excited?
I'm excited. I'm excited, and I've had no sleep, and I've got champagne.
Oh, it's going to be a cracking story, I can tell already. So tell us, what is this story? What are you doing?
We're doing a musical, which is called A Girl's Guide to World War. And it's about a group of women it's a true story about a group of women who went off to the front line in war. And I think in World War I think most of us think that the women who got to the front line were nurses. But these were doctors, they were drivers, they were ambulance drivers, commanding officers, incredible women. They ran their own hospital on the front line, entirely staffed by women. And their story has just been lost in history.
That's
so
incredible.
yeah,
I've actually got goosebumps.
Oh, good.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it's incredible. And the commanding officer was an Australian woman called Agnes Bennett, and the chief surgeon was an Australian woman called Dr Lilian Cooper. And her partner, Josephine Bedford, ran the ambulance column, and just amazing
Isn't
story.
That astonishing. So how did you come across it? Did you go looking for it?
No, it all started with, it was a random thing. My partner Aleathea used to work at QT on George Street in Brisbane, and I picked her up after work and we were walking down George Street, and there's this beautiful house on George Street which is still there called the Mansions, and there was a little plaque outside and it said this house was owned by Dr Lilian Cooper, and we're like, oh, who's this doctor? You know, in 1893 or something she lived there, and so we started looking into her, and then as we looked a little bit deeper, we realised there was this incredible story there just waiting. It's just amazing, and her partner Josephine Bedford, they're buried together in the Toowong Cemetery in Brisbane.
Beautiful?
Yeah, just incredible.
That's an amazing story.
Yeah.
And so you decided to do a musical.
We always do musicals.
We start to love about a musical.
Exactly. obsessed with musicals.
Yeah.
I find it very hard not to like a musical.
Yeah. That's fabulous. And so, how do you even start to pull something like that together?
Yeah, it was really hard because Lilian was, the impetus, and she was amazing since, pretty much since birth, and and it was really hard to work out what part of her timeline we should tell.
Yes.
Because her childhood was amazing, her teenage years were amazing. She, was born in England. She travelled out to Brisbane with her partner Josephine when they were in their early 30s.
And so this is a lesbian relationship.
Yeah.
At that time.
In the
That's
1890s.
fantastic, yeah.
And what was incredible was how accepted they were.
Yeah. I guess most people didn't really think about it because you had lots of, women had companions.
Yeah.
So do you think that people would have viewed it like that?
I do wonder if Brisbane was quite a hotbed of eccentric people at that time, because the acceptance that was there, and that Brisbane was quite cutting edge in a lot of ways in that time. The way that there was, sex education, and women actually campaigned to bring a female doctor out from England because we didn't have any here, which is why Lilian came out, and they wanted a female doctor, whereas the other states, New South Wales and Victoria and so forth, women found it really hard to, women doctors just weren't accepted.
Yes.
But in Queensland, for some reason, they were wanted here.
That's really quite astonishing,
it's really astonishing. And at some stage I would like to do a musical about a different part in their lives, about that first year here in Brisbane and how they became so accepted. But we've decided to do a year during the war. Yeah.
Okay, so you've got the idea, and you've decided to do a musical. Mm-hmm. What did you do next? How did you start to pull it together?
We did a lot of research.
Yeah.
So it was just comprehensive research.
Sure.
And so a lot of digging into newspapers, and we were lucky enough to get a grant to fly over to New Zealand, and one of the women who worked with them during the war, all of her diaries and letters are over there, and so we were searching through those and just trying to uncover everything that we could, and read lots of history books, but history books obviously, they can be one-sided. We met with historians and got slapped down for suggesting they were a lesbian couple, but they so were.
Slapped down.
So we just did all the research that we could possibly do, I guess, for a long time.
Because I love research. It's like
it's
my happy place.
Oh my gosh, it's just so hard to stop.
So how did you stop?
You have to just go, stop it. You
Just
have to
like
write
that.
the thing now.
And then it's a different mindset, isn't it?
It is.
So taking all of that and then putting it down. Did you have a structure that you used to do the writing?
I used a 5-act structure. Did I have anything more than that? I think, because I'm so obsessed with musicals, I guess I inherently use a musical structure, which means there's the I want song where the main character tells you what they want, and there's big song at the end of Act 1 before the interval, and I do tend to do that sort of thing.
Sure. Well, structure helps you to get things out.
Absolutely.
And holds the whole project together, doesn't it?
Actually, you'd be interested in this. For the first time, I used a program to help me write it, which was called Write It Now.
Okay.
And it just really helped. You can put all of your research into it, and you can connect scenes that you're writing with that research. So if you forget why it is you had, certain dates and so forth, you can link directly to that piece of research. You can move scenes around just by dragging and dropping. You can chart emotions and relationships, so you can get all these charts happening, and you can it's really cool. It was really, really cool. And then you can just export it into Word, and it was really good.
How long did you hold on to your idea before you shared it with anyone?
Yeah, a long time. So I do tend to do that. So I'll talk to my partner Aleathea, but it's like I don't want to open the oven too soon. So there were aspects of it that I'd talk about, but I had to wait until I was completely confident on what it was we were trying to say before I could release it to the world. And then once I release it, I'm completely, I'll tell everybody.
And so is that because you're confident in where you are,
Yeah.
and then you're open? Do you get other suggestions?
Yeah,
People say,
absolutely.
Oh, you should do this or that.
Absolutely,
Okay.
yeah. And then I'm very open to it. And in the rehearsal room, just watching the actors bring it to life, constant changes, just hearing those words aloud
Yes.
and seeing them
How does that
explore the
feel?
character. It's wonderful. There's nothing better.
Yeah, I
it's
can
just
just
wonderful.
imagine.
Yeah, because the actors ask questions and they're like, why would I do this at this time? And
Isn't that nice? So that really brings the people to life, doesn't it?
It does.
When they're asking questions about, well, why does this happen and why does that happen?
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
That's fabulous. Now, is it a cast of thousands?
It is a cast of 9.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That's quite, that's a good size, isn't it?
Yes, and then there's the band.
Yeah. Tell me about that.
Vix and the Slick Chicks. Vix and the Slick Chicks!
Yay!
Yeah, all-girl blues band. They're our band.
That's great.
And we actually managed to get the drummer up from behind the drums, and she comes down and says a few lines even, because we
Great.
ran out of actors. So we're like, you do this scene. And she does it really well. She steals the show. So there's the band and 9 actors in the
That's fabulous.
show.
How do the rehearsals go? What does a rehearsal look like?
My dad is directing it, and he's just doing the most amazing job. And he believes in getting it up on its feet very quickly. There's, some rehearsal rooms can be a lot about analysing the scenes and talking and all that kind of stuff, whereas Dad likes to get it up on its feet first, get people moving, interacting, and then start detailing it, as he calls it. So then go, okay, why are you doing that? What's your motivation? And I think that's a really good way of doing it. And it's helpful to me as a writer because I get to see how it's going.
People are using it.
Yeah.
That's
so
amazing.
It's really cool.
Yeah. I can't wait to see it, actually. So give me some dates and venues, and then I'm going to come back to something else that I want to ask.
Okay. So it's going on at the old ambulance station in Nambour, which is just the best venue.
Is that like the world premiere?
It is the world premiere.
World premiere.
Yes, we did do a reading in Brisbane a few years ago, but this is the premiere of the whole thing. And it goes on the 22nd of November of 2018 and runs to the 1st of December.
So you just said that you did a reading in Brisbane a few years ago. How long have you been working on this project?
Oh, years and years, and other things cropped up and so forth, but a long time.
How does that feel? That it's taken, that something has, now you've almost birthed it, really, haven't you?
I should say, a big thank you to the Regional Arts Development Fund, because they were the ones who helped us just get it to this final stage. So they supported us and allowed us just to take some time. Yes. Because we've all got to work.
That's right. Food on the table.
Food on the table.
Yes.
And they were just amazing for believing in the project.
That's brilliant. So how do you approach that? I mean, you've got this thing. You know that it could be fabulous. Where do you go for that level of support?
What do you mean?
Well, just so you've got some. So it's the regional development.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So how do you approach them? How does that happen?
I have to say they were just amazing. And if anyone has an idea, if you're regional and you have an idea, I would thoroughly recommend talking to the Regional Arts Development Fund because the way that they work with you to get your grant to the right stage was so supportive. I've never ever, coming from a city to now being a Mullaney girl, I've never seen anything like it. Like they will sit with you, they'll have a coffee, you can submit your grant before it's finalised, they will give you feedback. It was phenomenal. It was actually a beautiful process and really helpful.
Wonderful. So they're really, that's just clearly supporting the arts
It really was.
in a regional area.
It really was.
How nice is that?
I can't say anything, like, I just thought they were wonderful.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, I've got
That's
all the time
brilliant.
in the world for that group of people. Yeah.
So how do you put food on the table? What's
Well,
your day job?
So up until a few months ago, I was managing editor of a publishing company here on the Sunshine Coast, and it was taking up all of my mental energy. And a beautiful friend of mine, Gillian, runs a framing shop and art supply shop in Mullaney, and we were going down to Brisbane to see a musical together, which was beautiful, you know, the Carole King story.
Oh, yes.
And she said, oh, I really, you know, business is it's just so flat out, I really need an extra set of hands.
Whoa.
And then the next day I just messaged her and I went, how about I'm your extra set of hands? And I quit my job and now I work in her store.
That's
and
brilliant.
it's just the freedom of not having to think like a writer, you know, 9 till 5 every day
For someone else.
for someone else.
Yeah.
And, you know, yeah, it was the best choice
It
I've
must
ever
be
made.
really liberating.
It's so liberating. I
Yeah.
can't even describe it. It's just wonderful. Yeah.
So, and that's walking in the door, doing your job
Yeah.
really well
Yeah.
because you love it,
Yeah.
and then walking out the door.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Couldn't get better.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And so that's really freed you up, freed your mind up
It has. And it's,
because I am imagining, because I've never written a play, I certainly haven't
You've
even
written a lot, though.
I've done a lot of writing,
Yes.
but I've never written even a musical. I mean, that just blows my mind. But this is quite a significant event. It's not just writing. There's
No.
so much involved in it, isn't
Yeah,
there? So I
that's
imagine
true.
you've got to be across all of those different areas.
yeah, you've got to wear a lot of different hats. So hats! I am also producing it, so it's a writing and producing role. And then one of our beautiful cast members had to pull out, and I had to become an actor too.
Oh, Katy! Oh, so we'll see
sorry.
you on stage.
Yeah,
Fabulous.
in a minor role.
Oh, okay.
So
Well, that's exciting.
yeah.
So what's the role of a producer?
Oh gosh, I think anyone who does independent theatre would tell you it's a billion different things. So it's everything from setting up ticketing to making sure that the costumes are paid for, that we're within budget, that there's insurance,
Okay.
all of those
Yeah.
many things.
Yeah.
It can be ironing the costumes before the show. It can,
Okay.
it's you have to wear so many different hats.
Yeah.
Making sure there's makeup and hair and
Yep. Venue.
yeah. But the old ambulance station has just been so helpful, like
Good.
really supportive. I couldn't ask for a better place to put this show on.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. And marketing.
Yes. Marketing is also part of the job.
It's really hard, isn't it?
It is very hard.
So I think for me, I think it's easier to write about someone else
Yes,
than
it
to write
is.
about yourself or what you're
so
doing.
hard.
So how are you managing that?
I don't know if I am.
What have you
It's
done?
really hard. Just getting into papers and hopefully getting some radio spots and this
Good.
kind of thing.
Annie Gaffney, I'd love to talk to you.
Yeah?
Are you talking to Annie?
I hope so.
Oh, good.
I
Have you done
emailed Ian and said, can he leverage some kind of...
Yeah. Because the ABC is just a magnificent supporter of everything on the Sunshine Coast.
Okay, yeah.
Annie would love to talk to you, won't you, Annie? Yeah, look, see,
Thanks,
I'm
Annie.
sure she will.
Go, Annie. It's really hard. I remember reading about Ricky Gervais, who wrote The Office, and when he first started out, which was quite, he was I think he was well into his late 30s by the time he got his break. He would pretend to be someone else, so he would ring up to to spruik himself, but he would pretend to be somebody
Someone
else.
else.
And I think that's what I've got to start doing, because I'm so close to it, and you know, it's like it's your baby, and it's just so hard. It's really hard.
It is hard. It really is
Yeah.
hard. One of the things that that I learned when I wrote a book a long time ago, and in selling it, it was the same sort of thing. But I came to understand that it was, if someone rejected it, it was because it just wasn't the right thing for them at the time.
Okay, yeah,
rather than
they're rejecting you.
me.
Yeah.
And that was just so helpful
Yeah.
to put some level of separation between me and the product.
Yeah.
It was a product.
Okay.
And it made me able to speak about it differently,
Yes.
and to be. Oh no, she's gone. And to and to think about it differently.
Okay. That's I think that would be that's really good advice, and because you tend to think of it as an extension of yourself, and so if someone turns it down, it's like they're turning you down.
That's right.
But you've got to think of it as just a product. Hey.
Yeah. And also that because you know it so well.
Yeah.
Well,
How do
for
you
me, I kind of think that other people know, you know, like, are you mind readers? Because I know this thing, do you know this thing too? But you don't. So you've really got to say it as if people have no idea.
Yeah, okay.
What are the salient points?
Yes, and do that, you know, the whole elevator pitch thing.
Yeah.
It's hard. Yeah.
It is hard. But the more you do it, the easier it becomes.
I hope that's, yes, I'm sure you're right.
It's true. Well, it is true. It is true. And you just keep practicing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Robin.
And tell me, do you need volunteers because you've got 8 shows?
Yes.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
Just in itself.
Yeah.
And
volunteers would be great.
Yeah. So we're for the old Ambo.
Yeah.
We're supplying some volunteers.
I believe so.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
If you'd like to volunteer at the old Ambo for Katy's show, A Girl's Guide to World War.
Yes.
Please send us a message, because I'm looking for some new volunteers, and this would just be a hoot.
It would be, yeah. It'll be a lot of fun, and we've actually one of our wonderful supporters, Jeff. He's talked to the Model T Ford Association, because these girls drove Model T Fords.
How fabulous!
And we're putting one in the foyer of
how
the old ambulance station.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, in that slopey room.
Oh, in the leopard lounge.
Yeah, in the leopard lounge. Yes, so
How
people can
wonderful.
actually see what they
car.
drove. Yeah.
It's a whole different time back then, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a period where women found it very difficult to even get driving lessons. Women weren't supposed to drive, and cars were such a new technology, and yet these women ran a hospital where all the ambulance drivers were women. So they had 19 ambulance drivers, and they were all women, and they were you know, driving their cars through mud and over rickety bridges and round cliffs, and often their cars would roll down the cliffs, and they'd just have to fling themselves out of the car, and then they'd have to beg people to pull their car back up onto the road, and they were such amazing, courageous women.
I'm now thinking, I've got this image in my mind of them coming back from war.
Yeah.
What does your research tell you about their lives coming back in? Maybe not for the doctors, you know, the leaders of that group, but the women who were working in that.
It's a really interesting question. I don't think any of them ever. I think their lives were changed forever. Some of them became incredible humanitarians and opened orphanages, and you know, they'd seen the horrors of war, and I think they. Something in them felt that they should devote their lives to helping people, and I think there was also probably a sense of empowerment that they could do something. So a lot of us feel you feel like you can't do anything, whereas these women actually were there. They were saving lives every day, and so a lot of them went on to doing quite incredible things. One woman. Can I just go down a little tangent for a second?
Please do.
So because we're talking about World War One, there were lots of horses,
Yes.
and a lot of dying and dead horses along the road, and people would just walk by or drive by these horses, but these women would actually stop. Every time they saw a dying horse, they would stop and they would try and beg a bullet from passing soldiers to end the horse's misery. And if the soldiers would more often than not say it's a waste of a bullet.
Yes.
And so the women would sit with the horses until they died. And one of the ambulance drivers who was part of this sitting with the horses, she went on to run a refuge for mistreated horses. Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's
yeah,
astonishing.
yeah. It's an interesting thing because the world did kind of move forward for women's rights and move back again.
Yeah.
But I think the actual women who were there, they were empowered.
So is it that we just don't hear, and it's 100 years?
Yes, exactly.
This year,
Yes, yes.
like very soon.
Yeah.
On Sunday.
The
Sunday,
11th, yeah.
So we're actually filming this on Tuesday,
Yeah.
which is the Melbourne Cup, and we're
Yes.
talking about horses.
Yes.
And
yes.
and so Sunday is the day.
Yeah.
Is it just that those stories have been lost in
Yep.
history?
Yeah. So these women, I've heard them referred to as media darlings around in the time of the World War. So they were actually they were getting a lot of publicity at the time,
Wow.
but then it was like as soon as the war finished and they
was
weren't
it.
needed anymore. It was like the history book closed on them.
Wow.
We don't want to remember what women could do, and they've just been pushed down into the history books. So it's time to bring them back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Through A Girl's Guide to World War.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much, Katy. I reckon that we could just sit and talk for the rest
I
of
think we could.
the bowl of champagne.
Well, we haven't.
We could do that,
I
couldn't
think we could do that.
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
get a taxi home.
It's not that far, or Palmwoods to Mullaney.
It's worth it.
It's worth it, totally.
Yeah.
It's just such a fabulous story.
Oh, thank
I
you.
really want to encourage you to go. What time, what day does it open?
Thursday, the 22nd of November.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's just a couple of weeks.
And then
book
runs
your
to the
tickets
1st.
online.
Yes, you can book through Eventbrite,
Yeah.
or through our Facebook page. So if you just search for A Girl's Guide to World War on Facebook, you can book through there.
Yeah, and there's 8 shows, so there's plenty of seats.
Yep.
You won't miss out. Although I'm imagining that tickets are selling. And
Yeah, they
let's
are.
just say, who was the first person that bought a ticket?
Oh, my beautiful primary school teacher, Miss Nuttall.
Miss Nuttall,
Which is-
Carolyn Nuttall. I
Which
know.
is how Robin and I first bonded, because we realised we had this mutual friend,
Yeah.
my primary school teacher,
Isn't that
and
incredible?
you published edited her book.
Yes, yeah,
So,
astonishing.
yeah, so she was the first person to buy a ticket, which is just
That's so lovely.
so lovely.
All right, thank you for watching, and we will see you next week.
Who are your favourite officers?
what?
British or
Don't make me answer that.
Okay.
Saved by the bell. I think the